Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and you join me and Strad von Zarevich, and Nibbles of course, for part 2 of our lovely Ghost Train Halloween special. So, without further ado, let's get to some amendments. Well, there was an absolute raft of suggestions on the 2 carriages I did last time for improvements, which means I either did a bad job, or maybe you were just very enthused with suggesting things to make it even more spooky. So the first one for the hearse car was to basically make the dead body that glows in the dark a bit more visible from all angles. So to raise the curtain up a little bit and even add a plate underneath the glass, just so it sort of makes it a little bit more viewable. And I think that was a good idea. So we've now got this top bit level with the top of the roof and that plate underneath, as I say. So I think that's a little bit better. I don't think we can get too much better than that, because it wouldn't really have a skylight in it or anything like that. Another one was adding glow-in-the-dark pieces for these 4 lanterns on the side, which I didn't know existed, but now are part of some of the brand new Harry Potter sets. So they are now on the wanted list. I don't have any yet, so we'll have to make do with these trans neon green ones for now, but I think I will be changing that in the future. Some people suggested putting a curtain on the inside to make it a little bit more realistic, but I kind of like the texture and it's a lot more visible here, and that would be quite complicated as well and leave the outside looking a bit plain. So yeah, I think I'll leave that one unchanged. I've got an absolute load of pumpkins. As you can see here, I think I got a few of the VIP sort of pumpkin packs when I did some ordering a while back. So yeah, I've got an absolute load of those. So why not add a little bit more colour? I like the idea of that as well. So those were all really good suggestions. And that is your bedoying if you made one of those. Very cool. But the other wagon we had last time got even more suggestions. So this one was Death on his glow-in-the-dark skeletal horse, right at the back of the train, looking very menacing in his position with his scythe, and people thought it was just a bit too plain. So I think the first one was to change the colour of the floor, so he stood out a little bit more when the glow-in-the-dark wasn't in action. So yeah, you suggested black, but I thought red would be better for blood red. So I've just added some wedge plates there to make it a bit more interesting. A lot of people thought the flames of his hair would be made better by adding even more flames around here. So I'm not sure about this. This is one of the 2 that you'll have to sort of vote on. Do we want the flames on top of these pieces? I could have added them to the floor, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. You tell me what you think about these flames, but they're in the sort of trans neon orange, so that'll show up a little bit when freshed by UV light anyway. Then another one was to add dead bodies or skeletons. So I've got a skeleton here, sort of trampled underfoot, like that was last one of Death's harvests, so to speak. He just got reaped, so that's pretty cool. And I think that'll stick inside the sort of 8 stud width that I need to get through tunnels and so on. And then I moved this light up a little bit to accommodate something else, which will also tie in with this trans neon green chain, which is also something I want you to tell me if you like or not, because I don't know if it stands out a bit too much or if it looks a bit weird. But there's something that I want to clip the other end of this too. It's not supposed to be loose, because what I've done is removed the normal buffer piece with the magneton and just replaced it with one of the more old school ones, which has got the Technic axle hole in it. And I've put in a pin piece with the cross X on one side, so I can put on this piece here, which is transparent and will move around and will support not only the chain, so let's get that onto the stud on there, but a following ghosty. So that might be quite a good idea. Now this might get flung out side to side and start hitting on bridges and things like that when we've got the final rail set up, but it might not. I don't know. So you've got to tell me what you think about that as well. So it's kind of flames and ghost with chain. I kind of like it. I mean, it's going to look great with the lights off when we've actually got a completely separate ghost glowing in the dark, flying after this thing. But does it make much sense? I don't know. Well, it's a haunted train, so I guess it makes sense, but you tell me what you like. But if you suggested any of those ideas, I think they were all great, apart from maybe the flames, which I'm a bit uncertain about, but it does sort of tie together with the flaming skull. Oh, and there was one more, adding a cape to Death there on the back of him. So I've got the sort of serrated edged one, which I think looks absolutely perfect. So that was a really good one as well. Yeah, I think that's all of them. So if one of those was yours, here is your Bedoya. Fantastic. Right, now let's get on to 2 more wagons today, and we'll do the locomotive and its tender as part 3. Good. Now for my first carriage today, I'm going to be amending one that came with the original set that inspired this whole build, the 9467, the Ghost Train from 2012, which was a lovely Monster Fighter set with loads going on. Loved the plane as well. But the train really needed motorizing, battery box adding and so on, changing to proper wheels, buffers and, added functionality, so it could all be displayed properly on my new extended rail system. And another thing that I'm doing throughout, apart from adding loads more details, is adding as many glow-in-the-dark and fluorescing pieces as possible. Yes, every flat surface should have something interesting on it. The part of that original set that was doubled up as a wagon was kind of a bit weird. It was kind of a ghost transport, and it had one of these guys on it in what looked like kind of an extended roller coaster car, really, with wings on it. It doesn't really make much sense, but I thought, yeah, go on, I'll improve that and see if it looks good as part of mine. I kind of like the wings and so on, and that's why this guy looks so happy, because he's got his own special transport, which is a bit of a difference from the other one that I had just taken off that trans piece, so he can be seen closer up, who's got a horrible face of woe. And that's not the only difference between these two things. If I use my black light, which won't work brilliantly underneath the filming lights, you'll see that the one on the left glows quite blue under UV, and the other one glows kind of an eerie green, so that's another interesting difference between them. And I hope you'll be able to see that difference when they're glowing in the dark, because that is also the colour they glow once charged up when the lights are off. I'm really looking forward to having this whole thing going around my train system looking absolutely fantastic in its glowy majesty, or spooky majesty. Anyway, right, so we'll get on with his transport. So the base is going to be very much the same as all of the other ones that I've done so far, and that is including this blood red stripe along the bottom, and then some Technic bricks with horn pieces stuck into them, so it looks extra spooky. And quite a few people mention the fact that I could use a 1x2 Technic brick instead of these, with 2 holes rather than the one with 1 hole in it, so I could have twice as many horns. I don't know, I just think the spacing looks a bit better and a bit more consistent with the other ones with 1, or maybe just that an odd number of horn pieces kind of looks a bit better than an even one. I don't know why, but yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. But you definitely could do a double hold piece if you were doing a similar build. So there we are. There's our blood red stripe, our horn that can be at all different angles, and our white 4x8 base for this one. And the back structure I'm going to be doing very similar to the original set, with a 1x4 Technic brick here to support 2 kind of flappy batwing pieces on an interesting setup. I've changed a lot of the colours so it looks a bit more joined up. But the problem with this is that the wingspan is far too wide. Now I'm trying to fit between 8 and 10 studs of width. I haven't decided yet exactly how wide my new tunnels are going to be, but that is way, way taller than that. So I need a way to kind of hold them up. So I've basically devised this, which is just 2 headlight bricks holding onto a 1x3 tile that I can put as a modification in here and here, which basically preclude the wings from going down any further than that. Now it might be that that's still slightly too wide and I just need to push them up, but at least they won't flop down in motion into that really, really wide position. So hopefully that's enough, but it may need some more work even then. So anyway, I'm going to put some slopes in here and a white jumper piece in the middle, and on the back the same, but with some grabbers, because every flat surface, as I said, needs some detail, and this needs a really long bone piece, and that really stands out against the black, so I like that. Like the shape of the wings, that's all looking good. And then just to finish off the crest of that, we've got a small bone held in position that joins that together and gives it a bit of streamlining, because it's very important when you're making a ghost transport that it's streamlined, of course. I'm just going to put some jumper plates in there. So we've got somewhere for the ghost to stand, because he didn't really fit on the back studs or the front studs in his little cavity there. Give him some nice safety rails as well, because we don't want him falling out and hurting himself. The last thing we want is a ghost dying on us. And then at the front, some panel pieces and a hinge brick with one of the 2x2 sort of top parts, and this wheel axle piece. Now that is going to hold on to basically 2 more skeletal arms, which will hold on to a big bone again. And now you see what I mean about it looking a bit like a roller coaster cart, because that seems to sort of come down as a protective bar or handle to hold him in. And then we've got kind of front piece for a ATV with some horns on as well. So if I get all of that in position and fold it down, at least it's a very nice pleasing angle. And then we get our ghosty, put him in, and he looks rather happy. So that is probably the least original of all of the wagons that we're going to have on my train. But I did want to include those wings, because I think they do add a certain je ne sais quoi. We do not have too much glow in the dark on this one, sadly. Only the ghost will be glowing. But, you know, at least it is a different bright glowing colour, and it's quite a big section of it. You know, there's not even space to stick a pumpkin in here, but yeah, so that one we'll have to say is done. But I will add some more of the horns, which do glow in the dark. Yes, so that'll be slightly more, won't it? So we've got the cone piece here that's glow in the dark with a spring green sort of top, and that should tie it together with the other bits. And we've even got the trans neon green dot there that should fluoresce. And actually thinking about it, I reckon I can put a pumpkin in. I'll just put it on the back buffer piece, so when it's joined to the other ones, it looks like maybe it rolled off the top, and will be adding a really nice orange contrast colour. So yes, I think that looks rather good. So let's try that with the other two. Plonk. And there you see, that is looking pretty cool. Very bright, actually. I had meant for it to be, well, a bit more monochrome, I think, when I started out. But with all these pumpkins, it's looking pretty colourful. Cool. Okay, right. Well, there's 3 done. Let's get on with number 4. Now, so far, every wagon has been completely different. So I wanted to bring back some sort of repeating themes to it. So I'm going to use the similar shape that I used on the hearse wagon. But instead of having a dead body on the inside, I'm going to have a completely different set of passengers. And that is going to be bats. Yeah, this is my bag o' bats. And I thought it'd be really good fun if I had a wagon o' bats going along as part of my train. A bit of an unusual sort of type of passenger, but something that's really spooky and interesting. And I thought, you know, when you think about old-fashioned horror movies, there's always sort of a swarm of screeching bats sort of flying past the damsel, scaring her witless. So I thought maybe they needed somewhere to roost, and they could all be sort of flapping around on the inside of a wagon that looked like that. Bit tricky. So we're going to need to sort of mount them from all sides, so it looks like a real cloud or a swarm of bats. So I'll put my bag o' bats to one side and bring in the wagon base. So this is exactly the same as the one that we just did, but this time I'm going to put a slightly different top on it, and that's just because, well, I need a clear floor to show the bats up against, I think. So I'm going to put on these corner tiles, which are completely messed up already. Oh, let's do that one the same as the others. There we go. And then I need some red colour contrast, of course. So I'm going to add a grill piece and then 2 of these clips, 1x1s with a nice bone on again. Kind of like a safety rail for bats. And I think that looks very nice. There we go. That's that middle section done. And then, much like some of the others, with another trans neon green piece there, I'm going to bring in the ends where I can build onto it with those sort of angular slopes. That's the sort of pattern that I want to repeat. So on each of those corners, on top of the trans neon green piece, I'm going to have those 2 slopes. But in the middle, where we had the sort of window and a curtain, I'm going to have this set up. And this is loads of modified bricks. Essentially, we've got one with 4 studs on the side, another one with 4 studs on the side, one with 2 on the side, and two on the other side, facing the other way that time. And that'll give us loads of connection points for bats. We won't be using all of them. That'd be far too many bats, and I don't think it would fit them all, but it gives us loads of different opportunities for bat attachment. So that's going to be facing on the inside, and another slope going on. And then the ones on the outside, there's only two there, so I'm just going to have some spiders crawling up, just one on each end, using the different stud each time. So again, studs on the inside, and then the slope and the slope. And this one, as I say, can have another spider, but that'll be a bit higher up maybe, something like that. So there we go, there's our basic wagon. Now we need the roof on next, I think, before we start attaching bats, because these sides aren't very stable at the moment. So I'm going to try and put that on, and I will probably fail doing it on live camera, especially since we've got wheels involved. Actually, this doesn't seem to be going as badly as it did for the hearse. There we go. Very nice. So that is essentially the basic bones, no pun intended, of our wagon o bats. So what I'm going to do now, or on a pause, is basically get a load of bats, a load of these sort of Marvel attachment pieces, as I think of them, stick one in the base, and then kind of put them into all these holes. So it looks like they're all flapping around in the gap in the middle, and I think that should look spooky. Now the only bad thing about this one is it's not going to glow in the middle, so when the lights are out it'll just be a black blob going around, but I do think that shape of a swarm of nasty bats will look really interesting. So while we're here, let's add on the decal that is similar to the hearse wagon for the top. So we've got this great big slope. I've lost the spider. Let's put him back on. Boop. And another one on the other side. And we will have the horns on the sides as well. So we've got that repeating theme, and I think we'll have some of this repeating theme on the tender as well. So therefore we can kind of have small one, big one, small one, big one, big one. Well, it doesn't quite work, but you know what I mean. Kind of repeating theme throughout the train. And then we've got all of our glow-in-the-dark horn pieces as well. So we've got some facing towards the outside on the ends, and then some facing towards the outside with the trans-neon pieces on the corners like that. So that'll make it look super horny and spooky and scary and fragile when it's got the bats in it, I think. But yeah, anyway. And then just because we've got all these blodges of orange all over the place, yeah, I think we should stick another one on the top there. And since I've got too many of these glow-in-the-dark spiders, let's have another one on one of the buffer connections as well. So there is the outline of our wagon-o bats. I'm going to pause because I'm not doing this with the video rolling. It'll take too long for a start. With the video paused, I'm going to add the rest of these bats into a big swarm, and hopefully it'll look rather spectacular. Okay, well, bats added from our bag-o bats to our wagon-o bats, and I think that looks rather fun. Goodness knows how they hang on when the train actually starts moving, but then again, they are otherworldly, so maybe they've got certain skills that allow them to do that. I don't know. Kind of have to fly the way the wagon's going if they aren't actually sitting on it. Anyway, yeah, attached one into the jumper plate on the bottom. He's kind of more visible from the other side, I suppose. There we go. That guy there. And I also hung one from the roof, which was on this side, so that's him. And, you know, there's probably room for more, but with my fat fingers, that's about all I could get in without knocking one off for every other one I was adding. And it has the desired effect. It was just loads of leathery wings and all spooky, kind of creepy kind of goings on the inside that I was going for. So I really like that. And I've still got a load of bats left for other scenes like my subway and so on, and caves. And oh yeah, caves, that'd be good on my deep underground, won't it? So anyway, that's great. So yeah, a bit of colour on the top, bit of glow in the dark on the top and on the ends with the spiders and so on. I think that's going to be great. So let's clear these people out and get our existing train in. And I think I'm going to put it in between this and this. There we go. So we've got two nice chunky ones in the middle, and you can see that repeating theme. Maybe I'll spread them out slightly differently by the end, but you get the idea. That's looking rather special, and I do quite like that ghost on the end. Not too sure about the chain. You will let me know what you think about all of those. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to turn off, I'm going to try something here, turn off my filming lights and put on my black light to try and give you a sort of mild indication of how it's going to look with the lights off. Now, the bad thing about using a black light as opposed to using glow in the dark is that it does make some clear pieces like this glass fluoresce, so that's not ideal. But yeah, we're going to have the ghosty and the cones on the front, so he's that nice blue color. Then we've got the lanterns and all of this on the top. See, the UV doesn't make the glow in the dark cones glow anywhere near as much as they will in the darkness, but it's quite an interesting look. Yeah, all over the place. Oh, and look, all of the trans-clear supports for holding up of these bats actually glow in UV. So yeah, glow in the dark is miles better than UV for this particular build. But yeah, we will have quite a few different glowing and interesting parts, including all these flames on here. Anyway, so I thought I'd show you that. But I think the real pièce de résistance, as I said earlier, is going to be when we've got this in the darkness going around my track system. I think it's going to look absolutely great in the light, and then when we flick that switch, it'll just be all these disembodied pieces, horses and ghosts flying around, and it'll look really eerie and quite entertaining. I think you can't over imagine how dark it is in my Lego room since actually adding that screen to the window on the door. It is absolutely pitch black in there. You can't see your hand in front of your face, so it's going to be a great effect. Anyway, so today what did we do? We made a wonderful modified version of the kind of ghost transport, as I think of it, with these wings on, which is some really interesting shapes and a good place to get a smiley ghost who's very happy with his seat. But my favourite has to be the Wagano Bats, which is just silly and fun and, well, quite nasty as well, which is exactly what we need. So that looks absolutely great. So next time I'll be finishing this off with the locomotive and with its tender, with all of those power functions so I can control it remotely, and I think this will be really good. But yeah, I'm really warming to this. This might now be my favourite part. So yeah, well done. An extra well done if that was your suggestion. Really cool. I'm loving this train. But do tell me what you think. I've got to say, I really am enjoying this build. It's kind of an itch that was needing scratching for a long time when I was looking at this original set in the catalogue and thinking, oh, I do quite like that. But making it my own, making it a lot longer and a lot more complicated and glowy has really been great fun already. And I think Strad von Zarovich is going to have to be the driver of this train, because I think I had imagined that this ghost hanging off the back would be driving the front. So yeah, we need somebody else. So yeah, maybe we'll have a vote for who we want driving it, or maybe it would be more spooky if this whole train was driverless, kind of like a headless horseman, a driverless train. It's got a mind of its own. Maybe that would be more spooky. I'm not sure how much room there's going to be in the locomotive with all of the wires that I'm going to need to sort of coil up for the power functions. But anyway, should be pretty good whatever it ends up with. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego builds. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. Do also let me know if you like the improvements on the back here, if you want the flames to stay or go. And do tell me if your favourite so far is now the Wagano Bats, or if it's still the hearse, because I think that was your favourite last time. So yeah, that'd be really good to hear in the comments section. But next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be doing a Brick Haul on Wednesday. I'm away this weekend with Mrs. Hood seeing some American football, so there won't be a second video on Monday. And then next week, I think we'll have to finish this off with that locomotive and tender, because otherwise it will be Halloween and we won't have a functioning Halloween train. Oh no, the horror! So until all of that, see you! Yeah, you can almost imagine the fluttery noise of bat wings.